A woman bullied a 12-year-old boy relentlessly at school. She was the principal's daughter, got away with everything and made the kid's life miserable. She mocked him, shoved him, and even hit him, all while teachers looked the other way. Then one day she walked into the principal's office and found the boy's father sitting there. The man stood up, showed his badge, and introduced himself. "I'm chief of police," he said calmly, "and we need to talk about what you've done to my son." The girl's face went completely white. By the end of that meeting, everything had changed, for her, for the school, and for bullying policies across the entire district. Chief David Patterson was a well-respected law enforcement officer with 28 years on the force. He'd risen through the ranks through hard work and integrity. He was a widower who'd raised his son, Michael, mostly alone since Michael was 3 years old. Michael was now 12 years old, a quiet, kind, intelligent kid who struggled with anxiety but always tried to be respectful to others. He was the kind of child who wouldn't hurt a fly. Michael's school, Lincoln Middle School, had a bullying problem that nobody seemed to care about. The administration didn't respond to complaints. Teachers ignored incidents happening right in front of them. And worst of all, certain bullies faced no consequences because of their family connections. One of these bullies was a girl named Trinity. Trinity was the daughter of the school principal, Mr. Henderson. Because of her father's position, Trinity could do whatever she wanted with virtually no consequences. Trinity started targeting Michael in the beginning of 6th grade. She mocked his clothes, his appearance, and his interests. She told other kids not to be his friend. She would push him in the hallways. She even hit him once when she thought no one was looking. Michael tried to handle it on his own. He reported it to teachers. Nothing happened. He reported it to the counselor. The counselor said, "Just ignore it and it will go away." It didn't go away. By the middle of the school year, Michael was having panic attacks before school. He didn't want to eat. He wasn't sleeping. He was deeply depressed. His grades, which had always been excellent, started declining. David finally realized something serious was happening with his son. Michael broke down and told him everything about Trinity's bullying, about the physical aggression, about how teachers and administrators ignored it because Trinity was the principal's daughter. David felt anger rising in him. Not rage, something more controlled. He'd spent his career protecting people from being victimized. His own son was being victimized, and the school system was allowing it. David decided to handle this carefully. He called the school and requested a meeting with Principal Henderson about disciplinary concerns. He didn't mention he was chief of police. He just sounded like a concerned parent. The principal agreed to a meeting. It was scheduled for 3 p.m. on a Thursday. Michael showed his father everything. He showed David the notes Trinity had left in his locker calling him names. He showed messages from other kids, coordinated by Trinity, telling Michael they didn't want to be his friend. He showed a video of Trinity pushing him into a locker. David documented it all. He photographed everything. He made copies of the messages. He prepared himself. The morning of the meeting, David wore his full uniform, police chief's jacket, badge clearly visible, everything official and imposing. He looked every bit the authority figure that he was. When David arrived at the school, staff members double-took. They recognized him. The police chief walking into the school in full uniform got attention. Principal Henderson greeted David in his office. Mr. Henderson seemed to assume this was about something minor. Maybe Michael had gotten a bad grade or had some social trouble. "Chief Patterson," Mr. Henderson said, extending his hand. "I didn't realize. Let's talk about what's happening to my son," David said, sitting down without accepting the handshake. "I'm chief of police, yes. But I'm here as a parent. My son has been bullied by your daughter, Trinity, for months. There's been physical violence. There's been coordinated social exclusion. Teachers have witnessed it and done nothing. You, as principal, have done nothing." Mr. Henderson's face went pale. "I wasn't aware. You weren't aware because you didn't want to know," David said calmly. "My son reported this bullying multiple times. He went to teachers. He went to counselors. He reported it to you, and nothing happened. Do you know why nothing happened? Because your daughter is the bully, and you've protected her." David placed photographs and printouts on Henderson's desk. "These are incidents of bullying. Physical assault, coordinated social exclusion, all perpetrated by your daughter, all ignored by your staff, Mr. Henderson tried to defend himself. Children sometimes have conflicts. This isn't a conflict, David interrupted. This is systematic bullying by a child whose parent is the principal, creating a situation where she faces no consequences. That changes today, David continued. I could file assault charges against your daughter. I could involve the district superintendent. I could go to the media. But I'm going to give you an opportunity to fix this yourself. First, your daughter needs to apologize to my son. Second, you need to implement real bullying consequences in this school. Third, you need to discipline your daughter the same way you discipline any other student who assaulted another child. Mr. Henderson was sweating. He realized he was in a serious situation. He couldn't dismiss this like he would a regular parent complaint. If nothing changes, David said, standing up, I will personally ensure that the district implements new policies. I will file a formal complaint with the school board. I will provide all of this documentation to the media. And I will recommend assault charges against your daughter if my son continues to be threatened. Are we clear? Mr. Henderson nodded frantically. Yes, of course. I'll handle it immediately. Good, David said. I expect to see consequences within a week. Real consequences. And I expect my son's school experience to improve immediately. Mr. Henderson called an emergency meeting with the school's bullying committee. The story of what had happened spread through the school like wildfire. The police chief had come. He had documented everything. He'd confronted the principal. Trinity, realizing she'd finally been caught, was terrified. She knew what police authority meant. She understood that her father's position couldn't protect her anymore. The school suspended Trinity for 3 weeks for bullying behavior and assault. It was a real suspension, not the kind teachers could look the other way about. The school also implemented new bullying policies. Teachers received training on recognizing and stopping bullying. The counseling department created a real reporting system where bullying complaints had to be documented and acted upon. Parents received notices about the new policies. Most significantly, the school implemented a rule that said any student engaging in physical violence against another student would face the same disciplinary consequences, regardless of their family connections. That rule was specifically aimed at preventing future incidents like what had happened to Michael. Michael saw immediate changes. Trinity avoided him. Other kids who'd been coordinated by Trinity started including him again. Teachers watched out for bullying now. The entire school culture began shifting. David was asked to come speak to the student body about bullying and what it means. He stood in front of 500 students and told them, bullying is a crime. It's assault. It's harassment. And it will not be tolerated. Some of you think bullying is a normal part of school. It's not. Some of you think if your parents have power or money, you're untouchable. You're not. The law applies to everyone. Consequences apply to everyone. Kindness and respect matter more than power. The speech became something of a legend in the school. Students repeated it to each other. Parents talked about it. The message was clear. Bullying would result in real consequences. But David didn't stop there. He reached out to the superintendent and advocated for district-wide bullying policies. He worked with counselors and teachers to create better training. He even created a police department youth program designed to mentor at-risk students and kids who were being bullied. The school district recognized the positive changes and awarded Principal
Henderson a commendation, not for his past failures,
but for his willingness to change and implement real policies. Privately, everyone understood that the commendation was really about Henderson stepping in line after David's confrontation. Michael's anxiety decreased. He started eating again. His grades improved. He made friends. He no longer had panic attacks before school. Most importantly, he learned that standing up to bullying works when you have someone who will back you up and when that person refuses to accept injustice. Trinity, meanwhile, received counseling. She had to apologize to Michael. A real apology, not a forced one. Over time, through therapy and her parents' effort to address their enabling, Trinity actually became a better person. She learned that being the principal's daughter didn't give her the right to hurt others. 6 months later, Trinity and Michael were actually friendly in school. They weren't close friends, but they coexisted peacefully. Trinity had genuinely changed. Other schools in the district, hearing about what had happened at Lincoln Middle School, began implementing similar bullying policies proactively. Teachers received training. Parents were educated. Most importantly, bullying became a serious issue that got real consequences. David was interviewed by local media about his approach to school bullying. He talked about how bullying damages children's mental health, how it creates trauma, and how it's not just a social problem, it's a criminal justice problem. Assault is assault, David said in an interview. If someone hits you on the street, it's a crime. If someone hits you in school, it should be treated the same way. We need to stop treating school bullying like it's just kids being kids. It's abuse. It's trauma, and it deserves real consequences. The police department established a liaison program where officers visited schools to educate students about bullying and its consequences. The program became a model for other police departments across the state. Michael's recovery was complete. He became more confident, more social, and more willing to stand up for other bullied kids. He even started a peer support group at his school where bullied students could talk to each other and get help. "My dad taught me something important," Michael said years later, looking back on his experience. "He taught me that bullying isn't something you just have to accept. Adults will help you. Justice exists. And there are people, like my father, who take this seriously." That knowledge changed everything. The profound lesson extends far beyond one school. Bullying thrives when there's no accountability. The moment real consequences become clear, behavior changes. Mr. Henderson didn't implement bullying policies because he suddenly became an ethical person. He implemented them because the police chief made it clear that consequences would follow if he didn't. Trinity didn't stop bullying because she had a sudden moral awakening. She stopped because she faced real punishment. The entire school changed, not because teachers suddenly cared more about bullying, but because the administration made it clear that this was now a priority with real consequences. David used his authority not to bully the school into compliance, but to ensure that the rules were applied fairly to everyone. Michael learned that speaking up works when someone powerful listens, and the school district learned that bullying isn't a social issue to be managed. It's a justice issue that requires real accountability. This story reveals an important truth. Children are often bullied because they seem defenseless. But when adults, especially authority figures, stand up against bullying with evidence and consequences, it stops. Michael wasn't special. He just had a parent who wouldn't accept injustice. Have you ever experienced bullying? Have you ever witnessed an adult stand up to bullying and see it change things? Have you ever seen consequences actually stop harmful behavior? Like this video and subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories about justice, standing up to bullying, and what happens when authority figures protect vulnerable people. Hit that notification bell right now so you never miss our latest uploads. Comment below. Tell us about a time when an adult stood up to bullying on your behalf, or when you stood up for someone being bullied. Or share a moment when you saw real consequences change someone's behavior. Your story could inspire thousands of people to take bullying seriously and stand up for victims. Thanks for watching. David's story reminds us that bullying thrives when there are no consequences and dies when there are. Michael was being abused, and the system was failing him, until his father used his position to demand accountability. If your child is being bullied, speak up. If you see someone being bullied, speak up. And if you're in a position of authority, take bullying seriously and implement real consequences. Bullying destroys childhoods and creates trauma, but it can be stopped when we refuse to accept it. See you in the next video, where we'll share another story about standing up to injustice and protecting vulnerable people.